Hi, my name is Sarah Root, and this is my case study for EDL 854, Building Finances. So the case study is the budget debacle, and the first thing we're going to do is summarize the facts. So I am the principal, Carl Santos, of Briardale Elementary School, where I take pride in how I run my school and the fact that the elementary school itself is located in the center of a very diverse community, and I'm proud to offer it to the community to be used for town meetings, a huge spelling bee that's very successful, and concerts, and I just really want it to be a community-based school that supports the community. In return, the community supports what we do. So our school has about 600 students, and a majority of the teachers at our school and really across the district come and they stay. We don't have very many resignations or terminations to other school districts. They really do stay with us, which is a pride that we have in our school and our district. Our curriculum is basic skills. So the funding we receive is all to cover the basic skills curriculum, which is those core subjects. However, we have to find additional funding for our supplemental curriculum subjects, such as art, music, foreign language, or anything else that is supplemental, which we do know is really important for kids. And in order to get that funding, each elementary school has a parent foundation. And the parent foundations can be a little competitive. They all want to raise the most money and support kids the best way that they can. And so these parent foundations are run by, or they're chaired by, a parent representative. And then the funds that are raised are given to the principal at the site, and they are used to fund these programs. The foundation will work with our school site council, our school site curriculum committee, which is led by our lead teacher in the building. And so there is collaboration there. But all of those supplementary programs are funded completely by the parent foundation. So this year, we have a new parent as the chairperson. Is Mr. Barely. Mr. Barely is kind of a go-get-em. He's very much in charge and really wants to raise the most money ever for the Briardale Elementary School. And so and he's got some competition from another previous classmate from Harvard at a different elementary school, Mr. Morley, and they have some competition there as well. And so Mr. Barely kind of has this idea of, hey, let's do something a little different. I have an idea about how to raise the most amount of money, and that is to do a raffle for cash event. That he had done back in Harvard, was super successful, and so he decides that that is the best way for us to make the most money. He goes to the foundation, and they all agree, and so we move forward with selling the tickets for a raffle for cash event. So comes to the night, we've raised the most money we've ever raised. It was very successful. Get to the night of the drawing, though, and of the actual raffle, and the sheriff shows up and arrests Mr. Barely, and later charges him with a misdemeanor and puts him on probation. In the aftermath of all of this, our foundation, our school, and the situation is now on the front page of the local newspaper, and I'm really embarrassed as principal and just really concerned about what comes next. So first, I know that there's some legal issues here that we have to deal with. So state laws concerning raffles. This is where it gets a little interesting because it's different for each state, where, for example, here in the state of Kansas, according to the Kansas Raffle Amendment SCR 1618, a permit is required, but it can be obtained later. It's not, raffle for cash events are allowed and legal. That was for over $25,000. But again, it wasn't, obviously this foundation would have raised a lot more than that in order to fund teachers and programs for all those supplemental curriculum programs. So that was one thing to keep in mind. However, based on this case study, this was clearly in a state where it was illegal. or had a lot of stipulations with it. For example, in Alabama, it's completely illegal to do a raffle for cash event, and in California, where I'm from, there's a lot of stipulations, and in fact, it's so controlled and there's so many pieces to it that most people will never do a raffle for cash event because it's just too complicated, and because of situations like this. So clearly in this situation though, they're in a state where that is not allowed. So another legal issue too could be that were there issues with the procedures for selling and tracking tickets sold? They don't mention it, but that could be a legal sticking point. And also, where were the checks and balances? Where was the communication with the principal, the district? Was the district attorney involved? We're not quite sure. So there is some legal issues here for sure. Obviously, when someone gets arrested, that's pretty serious and booked and charged with a misdemeanor. There's also some ethical issues. So first, clearly there was some missing policy and regulations concerning fundraisers. So that was a missed opportunity, and there's some ethics in question there. Also, which actually leads to that negligence and a lack of oversight. Who ultimately drops the ball here. I will say though, when we're thinking about ethics, was there malicious intent? I don't think so. I think that they really did want to raise the most money ever. They want to do it for the kids. Yeah, there was some competition there, but I don't think there was maliciousness behind it. I think that the community, the principal, the foundation were wanting what was best for kids, and they were just trying to be creative about it, and obviously did not choose the best decision. So a synthesis of pulling this all together is Mr. Bailey and the parent foundation at Briardale Elementary School devised a plan to hold a raffle for cash event as a fundraiser for the supplementary curriculum programs. However, Mr. Bailey was arrested and the school's reputation has been tarnished in the process. So we're going to go through the facts here, just the facts of the event. So we have the people first. So first it's the principal, myself, Carl Santos. There's the foundation president, Mr. Bailey. Mr. Morley was that Harvard rival at a different, which leads the foundation at a different elementary school. There's a school site curriculum committee, which is led by, which the lead teacher is on. There's obviously the other teachers, students, parents, and there's also a sheriff, obviously, because that's who comes and stops the event. Some things we don't know is the source of political power, races of the community. So those are some things we don't know. Next is the facts about place. So first we have our schools. So there are 6 elementary schools. Each elementary school has about 500 to 800 students. There are 2 middle schools and 1 high school, known for its football games, for its football program. Also, there's Briardale Elementary School. That's where we're at, right? And so at our school, we have 600 students, and it is used for community events such as concerts, town meetings, etc. And it's actually where they also hold the regional spelling bee, which is heavily attended, like 1,000 participants. In the community, it's very diverse. It supports community efforts, attends the community events. There's a sheriff's office, and it does support schools, considering the fact that there's all these foundations and each one is able to raise funds to support teachers and supplemental programs is pretty significant. Some unknown facts is the physical condition of the school or community. Is it rural, suburban, urban? Not quite sure. Or even where is the town? What state? Where is it located? So our program is at the schools K through 5th grades. The teachers, as I mentioned, spend the majority of their career in the district. It focuses on basic skills curriculum, which is funded through the school site's budget, which is given to them by the superintendent. Our supplementary curriculum programs are funded by parent foundations, and that includes art, music, foreign language, or any other programs they may decide, like bringing in STEM or something else would be additional money, additional programs that the foundation would fund. And we also have a school site curriculum committee that works to make sure that those programs align with where we want to go forward with our students to provide the best education we can for them. So next we have to review and prioritize what we need to do moving forward. So first, focusing in on the goals. What do we need to do for our stakeholders, for our students, and first and foremost is promote the success and well-being of staff and students. That is ultimately our goal. And some other goals within that would then be to fund our supplementary curriculum programs. We have to find the funds for that to provide them. And then also maintain a positive relationship with the community, both for our reputation and also just to get that funding, and that relationship is really important. Our relationship with our stakeholders is just an important aspect of being within schools. So some of our needs are, we're going to need to update our fundraising policies. Clearly those are lacking. We need to repair the harm created by the parent foundation, and then and the raffle for cash event, and we need to examine available resources for funding, because it seems like maybe we have an issue with getting funds, and maybe thinking outside the box on how to get those for our students to provide the best education we can. Based on the information that we have, I do think that we have enough to consider some options and make a decision to move forward. So here are the options and consequences. So first option is take no action. Do nothing, see what happens. The second option would be to disband the parent foundation completely. It's an opportunity to start over from scratch, but we don't quite know where it could go, so there is some question in the air of consequences. Option number 3 is a comprehensive plan, and this would be kind of a little bit of everything. So update the fundraising policies, address the current issue, and create a new opportunity moving forward. And then the last option would be communicate and move on. So it would be just about communicating with the community, what happened, returning the money, but then kind of returning to same old, same old. So we're going to evaluate our options. So option number 1, take no action. The pro is there's no confrontation. Don't have to deal with anything. However, there's a lot of cons that go with that. So the damage may be unrepairable. Like I may be causing some major rifts. It impacts our student growth. It lacks follow through as a leader. So that's option 1. Option 2, which is disband the parent foundation. The pros is an opportunity to explore funding in different ways. It avoids future issues with fundraisers, and you can, as principal, I can kind of redesign the foundations or anything moving forward, any parent organizations, their connection with the school and how much control they have. Some cons are that it doesn't really address the current issue, and I may have to cut some programs that are really important for kids. Option 3, which is the comprehensive plan. The pros is that the policies are updated. There's options, various funding options can be considered, and it also eliminates or hopefully reduces future issues like this one from happening. Some cons are that it's going to take some time. It's not going to happen overnight. While there is some things to do right away, it's going to take some time to put those kinds of changes in place. And another con is there may be some foundation changes, and some of those parents on the foundation may be upset. Option number 4, which is communicate only and then kind of keep status quo. Some pros are that the money is reimbursed, and so the community is returned their money. It does attempt to repair some of the damage, and the foundation remains intact. Obviously, it does a lot of good, and so and their support is important for the school. Some of the cons are the foundation is going to lose some credibility, and it doesn't address the underlying issues going on with the fundraising policies. So after considering all the different pieces, Section 8 here is the best option is option 3, which is the comprehensive plan. And here's why. It puts the success and well-being of students at the forefront. That's at the very beginning here. That has to be our focus. Reason number 2. We can update the fundraising policies and procedures, and it will prevent future issues, hopefully, at least the ones that we can foresee. Another reason is that alternate funding opportunities can be considered outside of the fundraising done by the foundation. And also reason number 4 is that the long-term plan will help restore the reputation of the school, right? With a plan in place, we can move forward and hopefully repair any harm. All right, so next we have our action plan. So in order to implement this comprehensive plan, this is what we're going to do. So first, I think it's really important that we have to consult with the district attorney and find out if anything needs to be done on the legal side of things. Is the school responsible for anything? Like, how does this work? And also kind of get some feedback on like what fundraising is allowed. Obviously, states have different rules about that. So we need to have just more clear understanding about fundraising in our community. The next one, the next step, which would be almost immediate as well, it would be community communication. So I need to reach out to everyone and let everyone know what happened and the plan to move forward. And I think that those two things together are really important. It's not just about communicating, but it's also about the plan moving forward so that they can put their trust back in to myself and our school and our district about, hey, this is what we're going to do moving forward to fix this. The next step would be to refund the raffle money or continue depending on the situation. So using the receipts, we're going to refund the raffle money unless the lawyer says we can follow through with the drawing or something like that happens. Like I said, that's a state thing, and so that's why that lawyer is going to be important to that decision. Next, we're going to update our fundraising policies, and this is what's going to take some time, but we need to determine what fundraising policies are needed to prevent any problems in the future and to give everyone some guidance, because I think right now that it's very unclear about our fundraising and how it's used and who gets to decide. I think it's just a little too choppy. So, and then after that, we need to examine our funding options. There are other funding opportunities out there. I think that just relying on the foundation may not be the best strategy. So we need to develop a data-informed and equitable resourcing plan that supports student development, because that's what this is all about. And number 6, we then need to evaluate our progress all the time. And we need to continue to decide and determine if our fundraising policies and funding are meeting the needs of students. And that needs to be done often to see what we're doing is working, and if it's not, what do we need to change. And that evaluation process is an important part of being a leader. So just some things to keep in mind when we are creating a fundraising system. These are some considerations for policies and regulations. First, obviously, we have to find out the legal issues, the negligence, constitutional violations, all the different pieces within fundraising. We need to know more about and make sure that those are included in those policies and regulations. We also need to determine who's in charge of who's choosing the programs, the teachers. I mean, right now, like with this situation, it could be that there's some teachers for those supplementary programs who may be losing their jobs. So that's kind of a big deal in trying to figure out funding and who's in charge. And I think that needs to be more clear. And part of that too is then also developing a communication system, and that includes approval by the building administrator, because the foundation made these decisions, but the principal wasn't really involved, and I think that was a lack of oversight. And making sure too that there's correlation with the school's mission and vision. So yeah, while the foundation may want like a STEM or robotics program or something to come in, does it meet the school's mission and vision? Does it meet where the principal and the district are, where they're wanting them to go? So I think that also needs to be there. And then also some theft prevention strategies. There was some question about like, hey, did you guys follow the right procedures for receipts and tracking those funds for now that they have to be returned for the raffle? And so just making sure that those prevention strategies are in place and part of the policies and regulations. So for example, 2 people for every step, checks and balances, making sure that the reconciliation statements match the receipts, and just making sure those things are in place to prevent any theft, because stealing from parent organizations is like one of the top ways that money is taken away from schools and kids. Some other options would be some other funding options like crowdfunding and different things, I think, or grants. I think there's some different ways to get some funding for those programs that don't require fundraising in the same way. So to move forward, the warning is that there's going to need to be some tactful, crucial conversations. The principal is going to be needing to talk to community members, the district attorney, district representatives, district administrators, parents and students, and part of that is they're going to have to, the principal really needs to have some crucial conversations, and there's definitely some guidelines to help. First, they need to be restorative. How are we going to restore the harm that was caused? And part of that too is finding common ground, which I think is the students. We want what is best for kids. And so I think that's also a foundational piece to be at for having these conversations. They need to be facts-based and also careful too because of the legal situation. You don't want to violate anyone's rights to privacy and different things. So there's some things really to keep in mind moving forward with that. And then also self-assess. So like after I have a crucial conversation, I need to self-assess. Did I do anything wrong? Was that a successful conversation? If it wasn't, where did I misstep and how do I need to rethink my conversations that I have with community members and stakeholders? And then plan B. So if none of that works, if the comprehensive plan doesn't work, what do I need to do moving forward? Another option, which would not be great, but would be definitely an option, would be the communicate only piece, and then not make any other changes. I do think you have to, as principal, you have to let the community know what happened, that they're going to get their money back, and making sure that the appropriate action is taken, and that the lawyer's involved. I think those are all important pieces, but I do think that it could lead to future problems because it doesn't actually fix the problem. It just kind of puts a Band-Aid on it and does fix it for the moment. This is my reference that I used for this case study, and thank you so much.